some people asked about this. Yeah, so we are recording right now. Hello and welcome to Visual Agilists Denmark. Like that's the name of the overall meetup, because I hope it's first event in a series. And today's goal is how do you facilitate an improvement workshop when we are working remotely, so for a distributed team. And my name is Pawel. I'm working as a Scrum Master here in Denmark at SimCorp. Over to you, Stine.
Yeah, my name is Stine. My daughter, she made me this drawing. She's working from home with me these days, as I guess it's the same for many of you. I work as a Scrum Master in SimCorp also. I've been working with distributed teams for many years. And yeah, I like to work with visualization in the meetings as well. So for the agenda today, we have it here. I hope you can see it. Otherwise, please just raise your hands if there's any concerns here. So yeah, welcome, and just let's introduce the goals. We're going to do a quick check-in. We're going to talk a bit about what is a distributed team. Then we're going to do a workshop. Challenge is working remote. Then we're going to talk a bit about tools, different tools and advantages. And then we're just going to do a recap and some feedback about this session. So the goal today is that we're going to share some hints throughout the session with you as we go along, and also show some examples of how the different tools can be used. Yep. So first, a question for you. So what does a great virtual meeting look like for you? And for this, you're going to discuss it in pairs, and Pawel is going to create breakout rooms here in Zoom for you, and you're going to discuss for 2 minutes, and so please give opportunity to each other to discuss. And Pawel is creating the breakout rooms, and after that you'll return to this session.
Yeah, so it's going to be something like two minutes, and just talk to each other to kick things off. So yeah, we're gonna close the breakout rooms after 2 minutes. And
hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, Noor from Education Services. So I have my 2 other colleagues that want to join, but I tried to forward the invitation, just that they can't see the join button. So how can I invite them now? Is it possible?
It should be possible if they click on the link, because there's no limitation on participants.
Okay.
So they should just be able to do it.
All right.
I guess.
Yeah,
the limit is 100 and we are at 32. So
all right, okay.
There should be
I'll tell
no
them,
issue.
because I never used Zoom before.
It was me. I found it.
Hi. Okay.
All right.
I think Stacy is coming too, but I'm not sure how do I.
So I'm gonna open the rooms now,
Yes.
and it's gonna be roughly 2 or 3 people per room. So.
And the topic was, what does a great virtual meeting look like?
Yeah. What does a virtual
How do you know which room to go to?
Sorry, come again?
How do you know which room to go to?
I have no clue. It's gonna be random.
Oh, okay.
All right. And yeah.
way the virtual meeting look like for you? Does that differ from a physical meeting for you? Or any differences to virtual?
Hey guys, if you just joined, we're working in breakout rooms right now. We're gonna finish working in them in 1 minute. So I guess you'll just have to wait.
And there are so many things that is a little bit out of your own control. Yeah, you're gonna say it also requires a lot more participants. Okay, I'm gonna close down Zoom meeting. Any more to share?
No worries. We are closing the breakout rooms in 40 seconds.
Yeah, let's see what we do. And it's always fun to see people's home also. Ole has a bike behind him. Yeah. Yeah, it's a more personal. Yeah, you can blur the background there. Yeah.
All right, guys. I hope you're all back. Okay, so to kick things off, the topic is about distributed teams, but basically you can understand distributed teams in a few different ways. So there's this, let's say, model from Martin Fowler, and you can easily check it on his blog if you want. But the idea is that he's differentiating between 4 different approaches to how teams work. And over here, you have a collocated team. So this is like a team of people who always sit together. And there is some like conversation going on. What does it mean to sit together? Like if you sit on 2 different floors in one building, are you still sitting together or not? But let's just say that those people can have most of their meetings together in one physical space. And then we're moving into distributed territory, where on the other end of the spectrum, we have teams that are remote first. It basically means that those people are working primarily like from home, or so they don't get to talk to meet physically each other on daily basis. And we have some teams in between, where, for example, this one is something that I experienced when I was working in Ireland. I've worked with a team that was collocated, but then one guy decided that he wants to move to Spain. And when he did it, we quickly realized that we are now a distributed team, because in order to synchronize with him, in order to talk to him, we always had to do things online, and we didn't have him in the room. So we had to really think how we're doing stuff. And this model of working is called satellite. So it's like most of the team is working together, but there are some people who are working remotely. And then there's multi-site model of working, which is something like, for example, when you have part of your development offshore somewhere, then you probably have some people working in one office in one location, and some people working in a different office in a different location, which is close to what we have here at SimCorp, where we are working with people from Ukraine. So it's like a multi-site. We have people here and people there. So these are 4 different models of working together. And can I ask you to do one thing? So in the chat, can you say which model best describes the way you are working, or let's say the way you were working before Corona? Because I guess that for most of us right now, remote first is the way to work. Everyone is working from home. So like before Corona, what was your way of working? And just enter the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 into the chat. So those were the models. All right, that's very interesting that I see quite a lot of ones, actually. I get to see this less and less nowadays. Most people are working with someone who is remote. And you know what? Just for the sake of sanity check, and after the Corona, can you say if it's really the case? Like, how do you work right now? Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah, as you all noticed, it requires a lot more effort from both the participants, but also the facilitator. So we're going to talk a bit about different tools here.
Yeah, but before we do that, we said we're gonna share some hints with you throughout this session. So the hint right now is to keep people involved. Like if we go to the meta level of this session, by asking you questions and by splitting you guys into smaller groups of 2 or 3 participants, we are trying to keep you engaged, so you don't fall asleep. The reason is that with online sessions, it's very easy to just pass away and fall asleep. And you get this like, Stine, what do you think? Oh, sorry, I was washing my cat, so can you repeat the last 30 minutes of the meeting? So yeah, just make sure that you keep people alive, and you can do it in many different ways. We're gonna try out a couple of them during this session. And I guess my hint also would be, if you're using breakout rooms, it makes sense to keep rooms very small, because when you have a group of 4 people working remotely, it's very easy during the meeting to just keep quiet all the time. And you don't really need to interact if there are other 3 people talking when you work remotely. So if you do the breakout room of 2 people, it's very hard to be quiet with another person in one room. So that's a follow-up on this hint.
Can see a lot of people have their camera turned on as well. That's also a nice hint to actually have your camera turned on, so you can see the persons you're talking to. It makes it a lot more personal. And for example, now we can see many of your living rooms or your personal workspaces also. So it's a nice little extra touch.
Yeah, and we also said we're gonna talk about tools. So the reason is there is this thing called Agile Manifesto, which probably most of you know about, and you know what's inside. But there's one thing about people and interactions over processes and tools. But the thing is, with remote work, the reality is that you are doing most of the interactions through some type of a tool. And I like this quote that yeah, tools are important, because you can't do much carpentry with your bare hands, and you can't do much thinking with your bare brain, and you can't do much remote facilitation without any tool at all. We are talking through a tool that is called Zoom, and we're gonna use a couple of more tools throughout this session. So when you're working remotely, tools are important. And a small overview of tools that we like is over here. So we're gonna try out some of them throughout this session. And one of the tools that we will try is Mentimeter. It's very good for doing online pools. And what is very important, you don't need an account to use it. What I mean by you don't need an account, you don't need it as a facilitator. So, sorry, you will need it as a facilitator. People who participate, they won't need an account, which is the case for Miro, which is like the best online whiteboard that I've been using. But the limitation is that people who want to participate will need an account to do it, to use Miro. So it's very often it's a blocking point when you actually need people from either your team or from your organization to join some workshop. They will have to set up an account, and some people that just don't want to do it. And 2 similar tools, but much less flexible, are idea boards and Padlet. They are like a board thing, but you don't need an account to use them as a user. So person that facilitates a meeting can just set up a board and send the link, and people who join don't need an account, which is very handy. That's why we're going to try out Padlet in a second. And then 2 other tools are Typeform, which is great for doing online pools again. It's less live, let's say, than Mentimeter, but you don't need an account. It's very good. And the last one is Trello, which is like Kanban boards. It needs an account to interact with it, and probably a lot of people already know this one. And all of those tools are free to some extent. But if you just want to use them on, let's say, smaller scale, all of them are free.
So that was another hint. Use some tools that are easy to use, or at least that you feel comfortable by using, and preferably also approved and by your IT or company policy, at least in line with that, and preferably also something that is for free and has no, where you don't need an account, at least for the participants.
All right, so what we want to do next is a very small workshop. The question of the workshop is, what are the advantages and challenges of working from home? Like, this is the topic we want to discuss. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to use a tool that is called Padlet, the one that I've been talking about a second before. In order to do this, you need to go to this link that I've just pasted in the chat. So you can just click on it, and you should be able to see something like this. And the way we're gonna do the workshop is 3 stages. So the first stage is, what I ask you to do is just spend 2 minutes using this plus button over here, adding posts about advantages of working from home. So just focus on advantages for now. And let's spend 2 minutes discussing.
Could you paste the link again into the chat, please?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll just stop sharing. Is it there?
No. Sorry. Are you having it to everybody or somebody?
Or your facilitator?
Sorry. Cool. So this is the link.
Thank you.
And it's cool. This is the question.
It's good that there are some hints here also for everyone. Paste to everyone in the chat.
So remember, 2 minutes, and right now we are only talking about advantages.
You said only advantages right now, right?
Yeah.
Stine, is it set up so I can only fill out one post-it? Because I get to the plus in the bottom for some reason. Is it because I'm in another browser?
Working for me.
Sometimes it actually best works in Chrome. Paul, do you know that if you only add one at a time? Because you can't really get to the bottom to the plus.
All right.
Is it because you need to open it Chrome?
I think it's the browser.
It's the browser.
Yeah,
I think it
like
works.
It's there now. I was in Internet Explorer.
Okay. Thank you, Lena. Thank you, Lena. It's also good to know that there can be limitations for use of browser.
Yeah, I'm just checking it in the setup of Padlet, and there's nothing like this. So
Lena confirms it works now with
All right, cool.
another browser than Explorer.
So let's just spend one more minute on advantages. And I notice you already keep adding challenges, but hold your horses if it's possible. All right. And can I ask you all guys now to move to disadvantages, and let's just spend 2 minutes on that. So what are the disadvantages or challenges of working from home? Just a minute more. All right, so as you can see, there is a heart button on each card that people are adding. And what I would like you to do now is press the heart button on the cards that you think are the most important or the most troublesome challenges that you are facing. So let's focus on the challenges column. Just go for it and read what people have added to it. And
hearts.
Sorry?
How many hearts do we have? 3 hearts, or do we
you know what? So I'd say you have 2, but I can't check it in any way. So yeah,
pick
let's say
2?
2. Let's say 2. And let's just spend like 2 minutes on it again, just so you can read the comments and like like the challenges that are your top challenges. All right, so what do we have? Easy to miscommunicate with 8 votes. Distractions with 8 votes. And it's difficult to feel your colleagues. Yes. So I think these are the 2 most upvoted. So let's do it like this. Easy to miscommunicate. I'll just move it to the top. And the other one was distractions. I'll also move it to the top. And now the last part is about ideas.
Can I ask a question, Pawel?
Yeah, go for it.
Is it possible to see the hearts collected, or did you have to go through all of them to find the ones with the top?
I think you have to find it manually.
Okay.
But if you have an idea how to do it,
No, I don't. That's why I ask.
I always just scroll through them. And to be
Thanks.
honest, in reality, if you do something like a retrospective with a team, you usually don't have, I usually don't have 50 in this column, so it's very easy. But yeah, I tend to do it manually. So now, ideas column. Try to focus on the 2 top challenges, so easy to miscommunicate. What is your idea to fight this challenge? Distractions. What do you do to avoid having distractions? And let's just spend 2 minutes working on this. No, I'll go myself. No, I don't, but I'll just do it. All right, can I ask you guys, just take a look at the ideas and read them, get familiar with them. And it's a 2-minute time slot for this. And I need to improvise a bit because for some reason my battery is dying. It said 3 hours and now it says 10 minutes. So I need to run and find a place where I can charge the laptop. That's why I will turn off my camera. But 2 minutes to just go through the ideas.
Do you want us to rate them?
No, that's fine. We're gonna talk a bit about them in afterwards. So yeah, that's another tip. Be prepared for disruptions. It can be basically anything: IT, batteries. Yeah, someone is muted or not muted, connections, kids, whatever. So I think that's something we just need to be prepared for and accept. And another hint is then to sometimes have a backup plan. It could also be that you need to be a bit more flexible and adapt to the situation, and maybe think outside the box. It could be, for example, use these papers that are easy to make and easy to use in a presentation. We will just need to wait for Pawel to rejoin, as he needs to create
I'm
the
good
breakout
now.
rooms.
I'm good
You're
now.
good
So
now? Yeah,
let's
that was
just give it 1 more minute to go through the ideas for each of us.
Have a lot about try to have some plans, structure some plans, have the camera on to easier be able to read people. Definitely something about clear structured work schedule.
All right, so we can move on.
Yeah, so now to discuss in pairs again, what will you do, start doing differently from tomorrow, maybe based on these ideas and advantages, challenges you've seen here in the Padlet, and discuss in pairs for 2 minutes in breakout rooms that Pawel will create again.
So yeah, I'm gonna create breakout rooms again, and it's gonna be roughly 2-3 people in the room. So just discuss what Stine mentioned, and you're gonna do it for roughly 2-3 minutes.
I'll just post it in the chat also.
The question, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So I'm creating the rooms right now. Hey, Mako, ready?
Yeah. Actually, in my room, it was only me.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. It's a bit like it depends if someone joins and exits, and quite often if you have a lot of people, you can go to a room and be there like with some ghost because the other person stopped participating and went for coffee a long time ago. So it happens.
Yeah. We're not using Zoom, but I think it's a nice feature. It's the first time I see it.
Yeah. All right. Welcome back, everyone.
It was too little time.
Ah.
We also had to introduce each other and stuff, right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So.
So if you're doing this using Zoom, you can either keep the same rooms like previously, or you can reshuffle them. I chosen to reshuffle them. Maybe I should have kept the same rooms, but you're right. It was easy just to give more time to you to discuss it.
It's a good.
I have a question. These breakout rooms, I really like them. And when I was looking around in Zoom to find how I can initiate breakout rooms when I start a meeting, I didn't find the option. Would you tell us that how you can start breakout rooms when you're leading a meeting?
Yeah, we can take that in the Q&A session afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So we just need to remember to take it in the Q&A session. My memory is very bad. And I don't have anything to write in this room. But yeah, the hint that we wanted to give you is whenever you are facilitating a remote session, be very specific and try to use a simple, clear instructions, because it's very easy for people to get lost and just to lose focus for a second, and they don't know what to do. When you have people in the room, you can just look around and see what people are doing and start participating again. When you're doing a remote session, if someone is lost, it's very possible that he or she will be lost for the remaining 2 or 3 minutes. So try to be very specific, give simple instructions, try to be very clear.
Can I mention something there?
Yeah, sure.
Because I was actually the one asking to get the question repeated in the chat. It's always good to do that as well, because even though you say it, then you forget it when you start in the breakout rooms and nobody can see it. So that's also a good hint.
Yeah.
To put all instructions in the chat as well.
Yeah. And another hint is if someone send you a private message, Zoom automatically switches so you answer them. So I'm typing everything in the chat, but sometimes, sorry, one of you guys who send me private message, sometimes I'm just sending it to one person. So just try to check it if you're sending the message to everyone or just as a private message. But this is like a Zoom related thing. All right, so just to recap quickly what we did here is we went through something like a typical retrospective. There are usually 6 steps, and for a lot of you, it's gonna be bread and butter. So I'm gonna be quick. And if some of you don't know much about this stuff, we'll share some useful article about it. But basically the idea is that you open by setting the stage. Then if this is something like a recurring event, you check what you agreed on previous workshop like this, just to see if it even makes sense to do another workshop. Maybe the top priority thing that we should do is still remaining to be done. So instead of talking, we should go and do this thing. Then we want to gather data, which is like we are diverging in a workshop. We're trying to get as many inputs as possible to gather insights to gather thoughts, and then based on that we want to merge the workshop again and generate insights. And when we are down to just a few ideas, we want to decide what we're going to do actually. And then the last part is to close the meeting. You probably, if you're focusing on actions, and in most retrospectives or improvement workshops, you do focus on actions pretty much. So you want to decide who's doing what, when it should be done, things like this. So it's quite obvious. So that's like the structure of a typical workshop, and more or less this is what we went through. The only difference is that we are not really a team, and even more, we're not really working in one company. So it's like some of the hints might not be relevant. Some of the ideas might not be relevant to you. Some of the challenges might not be relevant to you. So that's a bit of a difference versus the typical retrospective. Yeah, so that's the structure.
Thank you, Paul. Should we just recap on the hints, and just to mention the ones also we didn't go through as we go along. One thing I see most of you use the headset. It gives a much more clear sound, and you can also avoid the echo and the noise from the background. That's a good hint at least. And as mentioned, use tools that are easy to use and approved by your IT and company policy. Also be prepared for disruptions, whether that's from your participants or the facilitator or your kids or wherever they come from. They do occur in these kind of meetings, and we have to accept that. And then it's always good to have a backup plan. Be flexible also, think outside the box, use different tools, even physical ones like we do here. Again, the camera makes it more personal. It's nice to see the different backgrounds you have here up. Also, if you do share the screen, it's a good idea to close other windows you might not want people to see. It can also be to mute your Skype and block the pop-ups that can occur from Outlook, Skype, and so on. Yeah, as you noticed and we talked about also, it requires a lot more preparation from the facilitator. And one of the themes is to think involvement throughout the entire meeting and keep the participants engaged. And that can be through openers, check-ins, energizers, exercises. It could also be you have a co-host or someone to write the minutes and do these breakout sessions, and then try to be really specific and simple, clear instructions. For example, thank you for that, Lena, also to write them here in the chat. I think you're not able to write them in the breakout rooms. That would also be nice, so you always know what it is you are discussing. Did you have more?
And yeah, I have one more. This about
that one.
Being specific and clear on instructions, because it's very difficult on remote meetings sometimes to follow what's going on. Yeah, and you're gonna have people who are lost however you tried, but the more simple and clear instructions are, the less people will suffer.
Yeah, I think that was more or less it for now. We're just gonna thank you all for participating in this session. It was also a challenge for us to try this out with this many people that don't know each other already. But thank you for participating and being active and engaged in this. And I think you also create some nice, valuable output with ideas. And I think we're going to send them out afterwards also. We'll just stay in the call if there are any questions. But
and we
for
have
now,
one more.
Yeah, we would like to ask for your feedback. So if you go to menti.com and enter this code, and I will share from here.
Yeah, so it's like it's the first session that me and Stine we are doing together, and we are very curious about your feedback. It was a bit shorter than we thought, but then again, yeah, it would be great to hear your feedback just by answering those 3 questions. Was this session useful? Was it any fun? And would
We
you come
don't
back?
see the code.
It's at the top of the screen that Stine is sharing right now. 450635.
We can also share that we have planned another workshop. It's postponed some months or weeks, months probably now, about the visual facilitation for beginners.
Yeah, we were thinking about something done physically, but with Corona now, the challenges that we have to do everything remotely. And when we were planning this session, we were thinking that we're gonna do it in one setup, but then everyone is working remotely right now, so it turned out to be a bit different than we initially thought. But yeah, thanks a lot for all the feedback. And if you have any additional feedback for us, you can just stay and share it, or write it in chat, or write it in meetup, or yeah, any way that works for you.
We will take pictures of some of these and share them as well in the meetup. And we can also send the ideas from the Padlet, so you have them.
All right, so for now, I guess you can stop sharing, and that's it for the part that we have prepared. And if you have any questions, now is the time. And we can start with the question from you, Victor, about breakout rooms. So basically, I've noticed that if you're using Zoom in the web app, you have less options. So I'm not sure, maybe breakout rooms are not there if you are using web app. And if you are using Zoom, I'll just check if I can actually share the, yeah, you have this option here. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see it?
You can't share the screen on Zoom elements.
All right. So basically at the bottom, you have the button for breakout rooms. It just should be there. It's available even if you have a free license. So you don't need to use the paid license to use it. I would guess it's there if you're using the app. So when you go to Zoom, it asks you to download something. You just download it and the breakout rooms are there. It's very easy to use. Does it answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Cool.
I also have another question.
Go for it.
I'm looking for a video conference software where people can debate, which is stable, which means that I'm looking for a high quality audio call software where people sometimes cut into each other's words, and yet the software is still clear and the listeners can follow what is going on. What do you recommend?
I think that the sound quality on Zoom is quite good. I don't know if you want something free or not, but a very popular tool nowadays is Jitsi. I don't know if you ever used it. You can try it. It's free. It's open source. So yeah, you can check this, or Zoom, which has this limitation of like think 40 or 45 minutes on the free account.
And
But I've heard from
also-
people that Zoom is better, the quality is better. I mean, just recently during these times that Zoom is better than Jitsi.
Yeah, it is, but it's paid. Like if you're working in a team, you can work around this limitation of 40 minutes. You can just launch another call, but it's paid up basically. So Jitsi is something if you need a free tool. But I agree. I'm a huge fan of Zoom.
Yeah, it's $15 a month for a subscription. So, right?
Yeah,
For pro subscription. So I mean, it's not totally out of reach right now.
Yeah, and I'm paying the same. Even it doesn't depend how many people are there on my call.
Exactly.
So it's not much.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions?
There are some in the chat.
Sarah asked to show the slide again with the different tools.
Yeah, there's a question with Mural and how does it
yeah.
compare to Miro?
I used Mural long time ago. So I can't really say how does it compare to Miro. I remember that back then when Miro was called real-time board, I compared both and Miro was just a lot better. But nowadays it's not real-time board, it's Miro. So I have no clue what are the new functionalities of Mural. So I can't really answer. Maybe someone on the call can answer that. What's the, yeah, I'll just copy paste this again. Yeah, exactly, mural.com. Anyone use this? Anyone used both Mural and Miro and can compare?
So you have used Miro a lot, Pawel.
Yeah.
And you like it for because it's more flexible, and you can, for example, cluster and group ideas and add additional comments and make quick drawings.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is Ole speaking. I was the one raising the question. I saw one of in one of the Agile meetups last week where we used Mural, and it was really amazing. And he used it for a design sprint collaboration thing, and I was very impressed by the functionality. And he stated that it is at least as good as Miro. Even better potentially, because there was a lot of canvases that you could just pull in and get working on. So yeah, I haven't worked on any of them myself, so I was just looking out for any experience here.
I'll give it a try then, because Miro has one terrible limitation. It's great when you use it, the free version, when you use it inside your company. But we wanted to use Miro here, in fact. But the problem is that if you share access to Miro free version, you are sharing access to all of the boards that you have created. And like in my case, I'm using it at work. So if I give you access to Miro, you would have access to all my company boards, and I don't really want that to happen. So so that's the limitation of Miro, and that's why we didn't use it. I'm gonna try out Mural.
Is that free to use as well?
Yeah, it's free. I saw on their website. It was free back then.
It's a nice collection of other tools. Maybe you should also collect them and send it out afterwards with the links here.
All right. Do you have any other questions?
I have a question. You mentioned about another meetup taking place. Which group is that in?
This is the visual. Let me just.
Visual facilitation for beginners. that was originally planned as a physical meetup.
Here in Denmark, in Copenhagen. So we'll see what's the status of Corona at that time, but the idea is to do it physically here at SimCorp. Visual facilitation for beginners. This is what we initially had in mind, me and Stine, but we had to adjust dynamically.
Okay.
Yeah, we also have a plan about hosting meetups, probably also virtual now. More of those.
So in the chat, I'm gonna send the general link. And I'm also gonna try and send the link to the event that we were talking about. So it's scheduled for May 12th, and we'll see what's gonna be the status of Corona.
Yeah.
Then.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions, guys? All right. So I think that's it. Thanks a lot for joining, and
thanks for being active in the chat also and posting hints as we go along. And it's very useful for everyone.
We're gonna share some materials with you. Send them some pictures. So thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and see
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.